This is Justin AMZN for Friday, February 19th, 2021. I'm starting on the daily because going back and looking at this week was really interesting. So we had four very bullish days. I mean, this one had a really large upper wick, decent volume, but the open on Monday, at least on the daily chart, if you look at the weekly, it doesn't really look right, but the open here on the daily on Monday. Oh, this isn't Monday. This was Never mind. This is last Friday. That's what I was seeing wrong. Okay. The weekly said this was the open price. Now I just realized where I made my mistake. All right, here we go. The last 5 days. Normally that's a week, but Monday was a holiday and the market was closed. That's why. Always good to figure out something for yourself live, doing a video. So, well, not live, but live or during a recording. So anyway, on the previous Friday, the 12th, the open price was $32.50. The close price on Friday the 19th was $32.49.90, 10 cents lower. It's crazy, but the other thing you got to look at is the close Thursday was $33.28.23. The open on Friday was $33.28.23. To the penny on the close to the open from Thursday to Friday. Open to close Friday to Friday, off by 10 cents. That's the kind of 5 days that I was about to say. That's the kind of week that Amazon had. That's kind of last 5 days Amazon had trading. Looks like a lot of bullishness, and it got taken out in a single day. That does not seem like it bodes well. But we are, again, back down at the bottom area of our resistance zone, which has turned out to be support. So depending on what happens on Monday, we keep going down a little bit more, we could do something like this, single only candle here, continuing lower, or we could go back up again. I don't know. It might be a resting day, a little bit sideways, kind of like this day where it just went all the way back up. Well, not all the way, but ways back up and ways back down, and then just kind of ended flat on the day. So we ended flat on 5 days. It's like, really, like that's what Amazon's going to do. But really, we had 4 really strong days, like lots of buying coming in. The last time we had 4 days of buying in a row, you go back a little ways. I mean, that's definitely some bullishness coming in. And it's also some bulls getting trapped. The last 4 days of buying, we did this. And then we pulled back. And then we've been above this area the entire time since. This is back in the 2,500 range. We went from 24.37 up to 27.22, and then we just stayed above that. So that's interesting. I don't know that these candles look like those ones back over there. I like that there were higher lows and higher highs all 4 days, and then obviously lower high and lower low from Friday. And then we've been going sideways for so long, we've got a little bit of squeeze going. So really need to see if we're going to just bounce around in here some more or really get going. So I'm going to switch over to the 5 minute, and I'm zoomed in on the 5 minute because this was such a big move. It's hard to actually talk about in the full day in this view, but I wanted to just focus on this first. So we opened up the day and we were just above the 21. We stayed below the 21 ever since. Kind of got into it here, kind of into here. Actually looked like we poked above right here, but this to me looks like a really nice triangle. I'm going to try and draw, and we'll see if I can draw something. Hey, there you go. That, and then either that or kind of like that, or even like that, something like that. I kind of like the flat bottom one a little better because it matches up a little better. Oops. Matches up a little better with the calls having kind of a flat bottom. If I could draw flat bottom, try one more time. There you go. Okay. Point is, this candle started to break down. Similar time this candle started to break down. And this candle wasn't really breaking out yet, which is okay. But we had some resistance here, and we were kind of pushing into that. We had resistance here and kind of looked like we were pushing up with this candle, and that was this one. And then let's see. It's hard. It's easy to go like from here and follow along. Oh, that's that candle. When I gotta go over and do it over here when I don't have the cursor, it's hard to do. So what is this? 10, 15-ish. Kind of think it's this one. I think it's this candle. Maybe. I don't, I'm not sure. No, 10, 15. Oh, it's this candle. There we go. That candle. Not quite breaking down. This has a, man, that's just bad off the bat. That is a nice flat bottom. So I like that that has a flat bottom. We're maintaining the low here as we're going lower. I like this because it's consolidating and it's not decreasing significantly. You get a little bit of a dip here from here. You're kind of doing that sort of thing where you're making some lower lows like that. But in general, everything's kind of staying pretty close by. And this is a less expensive option, 3,300 put at this point, and it dips down below 2, which, man, whenever these do something like this and it dips down to these prices, picking this up 2 by 1, you'd think it'd be a no-brainer, but it's like, am I just wasting an R? Because it's going to go to 2 or it's going to go to 1, I'm going to get stopped out, and then it's going to go all the way to 0, I'm not going to make any money, or it's going to wick me out below 1. And there's been so many times where I'm second guessing this. This is where I need to work on some rules to make this better. But second guessing this, and it's like, oh, I missed it. And oh, it's all the way up at 3 already. Well, I should just get it at 3. Well, what if it comes back to 2? And it's that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, let's frame up the trade. We've got a triangle coming in together here, triangle coming in here. We're starting to see a breakdown. And I'm in the 3,300 call also. And the very next candle on the call really breaks down. And you got a huge spike in volume compared to everything else. So that should be telling. And then this candle is breaking out here. And it's got a similar volume to some of these other ones earlier. And then this starts to break down. Not anything exciting in terms of volume change here. But we're getting closer to the low here. So that's the only real thing holding it back at this point, holding this up, is the lows here. We're already through that on the call, and we're really starting to push back up through some of these prices on the put. And then it gets good, gets going, takes that low out. Okay, that's a new low. What happens here? Oh, that's a new high. What happens here? That's another new low. So we're making new lows. Let's see if we can get in on some sort of pullback, some sort of retracement. What are we going to get? Next candle. Oops. Next candle. Oh, it retraced a little bit. Let's see what price we could have gotten in. And it only came back down to 4. See, you missed it. Could have been in at 2. Already it's at 5. It's retesting the high here. And over here, it's pretty much flatlining. It's going sideways. Not flatlining yet, because that would be 0. So at this point, we've broken down below the low. We've made a new low on the day. We're below the 21. We've retested a little bit here. And really, this thing could just roll over. If you feel like you missed it, go look at another option a little further away. That's something you can do. I'm going to focus on 3,300 call and 3,300 put just because I like looking at the same strike. But now we know, okay, the triangle is breaking down. We had through 4 days of bullishness, 3 this week with the holiday between, and then we're starting to sell off. We haven't held above the 21. Most of the days recently, we've been interacting with the 21. Now we're just holding below it. So let me reframe this. And the next thing right below, let me zoom in on this. The next thing right below here, this is the only thing left for support right here, is this line. This is our price, really pretty close to the midpoint of our lower range line of the resistance zone and the upper line, around 33.70, and this one's around 32.50, something like that. So roughly this is about the middle. And I think the exact middle is like 33.08, something like that, which we pretty much just retested too. So then from there, we just continue to sell off. And while this was breaking down, we had a squeeze forming and starting to trigger, and it's got lots of bearish momentum. And anybody who's been up the last 4 days, they could be selling, maybe locking in some profit. its options expiration in February. So other stuff going on that maybe people are just looking to get out, or it's just a good place to sell. So framing this up, okay, so we were here last. We just continue to go down. Actually went sideways for a bit. And as this goes sideways for a bit, let's switch back over and see, okay, what's happening as this goes sideways? What is this price here? Did it retest into some other levels? This is right around noon. This is an hour later. It basically was flat on this call at this point. And on the put, let me reframe the put. So around noon was right here. On the put, you actually, so on the call, you pretty much retested a level you were at. On the put, you actually pulled back a little bit more. So this put, it didn't really pull back all the way into some previous resistance, now acting as new support. It would have had to go a little bit further down from there. That's the only issue. Like if you had been buying the put down in here and somehow we're holding through all of this, like that's just amazing. And you're just along for the ride. And I guess the only real way you can figure out to do that is like at this point it's momentum. Like we've got, so let me switch back to the daily again. So we've got so much bullishness here. How much could we sell off if people were just taking profits? 4 days of bullishness. We haven't done that. I need to look at the date. What was the date of that? 20. Oh, did I miss one? No, it was, sorry, I went past it. Where did it go? These 4. So this was June of last year. And then there was some other ones that were sideways. This was probably the last one that really moved. But I lost it again. There it is. These 4. And these were, what are the dates? So this was a Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. So this was back in June. So from June to February, so 8 months later, it's finally made a move with 4 candles in a row, which is retraced quite a bit, not as much gaps. So this looks like we just got into a nice place to sell where we had sold here and some wicks here, and this upper wick here, it looks like we just got into a really good resistance. If you look back at what we've got, so I had this triangle drawn in. We definitely retested a little bit further up into this triangle shape. The high here is just spot on to this one. And then this triangle, we're almost back up to kind of the low of that triangle. I think we're just in a really good spot to reverse. You could call this a double top, maybe kind of a head and shoulders with kind of like a double head, you know, one of those funky ones. So I'm seeing like a shoulder and then like a double top head and then a shoulder. You can also call this a double top. It all depends. Like, yes, this can be a triangle, but then you can also see a double top in there, and you can also see a double bottom in there till it turns into a double top. So there's lots of things that happen when these patterns break. They can really continue. They can really move. And whenever you see triangles on Amazon, you know, make sure you're seeing the right one, because sometimes it'll give you triangles that aren't quite ready to go, and they just need another hour, or you know, you drew them too shallow. I've done that plenty of times. I've drawn the triangle too shallow, traded it, got stopped out, or you know, lost something, and then it's like, oh, now I see the bigger triangle, and you know, try to get back in, or it just doesn't work. But anyway, back in on today. So we're continuing to break down, but sorry, what I was saying is this triangle, it's going to have a move at least similar to the opening portion of the triangle. So if we say that the triangle opened way up here and it did that, and then let's just say, you know, it did that. Well, from this price to this price would be a decent measured move. That's kind of the opening of the triangle, even though it didn't come all the way back over here. It's not that, it's this. But that's still, you know, from up here to down here, probably 25 points or something from this point. So take 25 off of that, 32.15 or 33.15 to 32.90. So there you go. That's a good target. There's that. Came down to that, went sideways, retested. And I really like that it did a little retest right here on this line. If you recall, this line was from a couple days ago where I had drawn it in based on some candles in here, based on this day, and then it worked so good here, made some R's here, didn't work here, and then for Friday, it just paused there a little bit, you know? I thought, okay, maybe there's a chance, maybe there's a chance it'll hold there, and then it didn't. And yeah, continued lower. You got some smaller kind of triangles here breaking down, bit of a stair step that turned into more of a flag, and then rolled over into, this is probably the highest we got through the 21 all day was this candle, and then we immediately sold back through, and this had a really nice evening star reversal here. So at this point, if you're still looking at the 3,300 put, if you're still in, but I mean, even this candle had a smaller range. Let me zoom in on, no, that's not going to work. What's the range? 116, 283, yeah, 129. The range is a little wide here. Trying to get something set up like 10 by 9. Like, I love seeing that, but this would have been tough to do because this candle went all the way down to 830. And so maybe trying to buy at 9. If I saw this candle go down to 830, I probably would have been trying to buy at 9 by 8 after that. And it wouldn't have come back down. I would have missed this. So the next thing to do is look at a strike further out that I thought it could get to. Let's see, we were in here, kind of evened out a little bit with the 21. Let's see, what's the next price? So some lows in here. So maybe 32.75, 32.80, maybe. Man, that just was a great sell-off. There's some amazing moves in here. I was tied up most of Friday and hardly. I was watching a couple things, but I hardly had the focus I needed to really watch this, and I didn't have my charts and stuff with me with what I was working on. So yeah, the one day I'm like, I'm not going to bring stuff. I'll be all right. This happens. So I was kicking myself for that once I saw how this all played out. Let's look at, so here, to finish with the 3,200 call, it had a really flat price down in here, put in a really nice base, and then started to move. And then you just hold on for the ride. I mean, I've got some rules in there that let me move my target out, but all of them are still like kind of setting a target further away. I don't even think my rules would have gotten me to exit at the high, or even getting up into some of this. It's just continue to just kind of trail your stop. So if you've got some rules to adjust your target like this, so if I was getting into this, I probably would have been looking at like 3x2 or 4x3. I don't know if it would have filled if I would have gotten it set up in time. Probably when I did that retracement, I would have been watching like 4x3, and if I missed that, and if I was that confident in this is going to roll over, probably do 5x4. So let's say I'm in 5x4, and then so it's Friday, 8-hour target, so that's 13. That would have filled on this candle, and I don't know that I would have been quick enough to get in at 5 and to move my target up so that I'm getting my stop below. And if I had tried to get my stop at 13, I would have been trailed out, or I would have been trailed out on any of these candles. So I wouldn't have been able to get my stop below 13 or at 13 soon enough. And then I would have moved out to a different option further away and try to play it some more. Just trying to think through here. I mean, this is just, it's harder to get $100 risk on this. So let's go see how the volume was on 32.75. because this would have been even easier. You could have done this with absolute zero. So if you had just bought an option with your full risk of $100, you could have still been getting in at 1130 for one. Didn't come back below. Oh, it came back below one. That's something. And then over here, oh, it came back below. Yep, I would have been in this. I would have had, I would have been in, or I would have been still holding on through this because it didn't get up to 9 as a target, because I would have been in at 1 looking for 8R, and that would have been up at 9. The other thing you can do with that is add another contract and then tighten up your stop. So if you're only in one contract with $100 risk and you're in at this price and it's still hanging out at this price, and you want to go and add another about 1 or 125, and you can get your stop moved up to like 75 if it's not bouncing around too much. Sometimes these are bouncing around a lot and you can't do that. But then you can get 2 contracts, like where you're in at one. I'm sorry, you're in one contract at $1. You're in another contract at $1.25, and now your stop is at like 80, or you can even be a little further away. I mean, what's the math on that? So you can even be down at what, 60? My brain's not working. 65. Because it's 35 on one, and then 60 cents on the other. So yeah, you can be at about 65 on the stop, on 0.65 on the stop. So that would let you lose a full R if it came down to that price instead of doing absolute zero. So you can still tighten up from absolute zero, adding contracts. What that does though is, instead of my 8R target being at 9, my 8R target is all of a sudden now at like 425. And that is much more reachable. That would have been here or in here. That would have been a really quick move there. The other thing you can do is you can sell one and hold on to the other one if there's still some momentum, and then look to get back in with one with, some of the excess that you got above the 8Rs. So I hope that makes sense. But let's say you're in one contract, you get out at like 5 because it moves so quickly, you got nice slippage. And then the other one you're holding on and you're going to get out that original 9 price. And so you made 8 on one and let's call it 4 on the other. Just, that's 12R, right? Right? No. You're at, yeah, because your original was still full and then your added was a full, and you only tighten up your stop. So yeah, 4 and 8. So that's 12. So you could go back and take an R again, or take 2R and be a little looser with that stop because you're up by a couple extra R, and get into something as it's going sideways through here, or again, move to a further strike when it does one of these pullbacks and see, okay, what other strike could I do absolute zero? Could I go to like 3260? That's a little further away. Yep, here you go. Came down to 1. Get into 1 or 2 of these at 1, and again, hold on to the ride, and it went to 11. Turned up to 11. So even the 3250, look at this. It was 50 cents, and it went to $5. That's a 10x. So, this is the hardest thing to do with these options, is to have the confidence it's going to continue and not reverse on you. And this is the kind of day where if you just bought it at a retracement, I didn't go through and count, but it's like, okay, there were 3 bullish candles in a row here. That was the most in a row all day. If you were buying a put at 2 bearish candles, at 2 bullish candles, at 3 bullish candles here. 2, if you're buying a put at any of these times that the second candle was about to close, the second bullish candle was about to close, you probably were up on the day. Even this through here. I mean, it still had to reverse, and it maybe needed a retest, like this one actually retested. But if you were doing it with absolute zero, then it would have been fine to do a retest, playing it off the 21, looking for these lines to break down and then retracing to it. Like, if somebody else drew this line in and I held the cursor on this to, like this, to show the prices. If you drew this in on your chart and you played that kind of retracement, good job. Like, that's amazing that it actually really worked well. We broke through it. We paused on it. We broke down, came back up to it, and rolled over. Like, how cool is that? Nice bullish hammer there. If it really got going, that could have been a nice strong candle. Had a nice bullish move or bearish move down and then recovered a bit. And that was where the volume was. That was the volume spike at that point, besides the open in the first 10 minutes of the day. But then that got taken out with this candle with more volume. And then even here, it's like we're pausing again this yellow line. Like this yellow line, I'm going to go out to the hourly. There was just so many great things to recognize about the day today on Friday, 19th. Like, look at this selling. It reminds me of this selling from here. We went from here way down to here, going back a couple weeks. What was this? Beginning of February 3rd. We opened the month that way, right? Almost, no. First, second, third. Okay. So we had this selling that continued on to the next day, bounced right off of the yellow line. We came back into the yellow line. Oh, that looks like inverted head and shoulders. Where is my drawing tool? This looks like an inverted head and shoulders with like a neckline retest, and then it could have just done that today or come down to here today, and then it did not. And we'll see. But that's a really nice pattern that didn't work. It worked here yesterday. That's another reason on Thursday to have gone nicely bullish here. So we're back down here. Last time we were down here, we did a hammer and then went sideways and then higher. There's a bit of a triangle here. Look for, if you want to wait for this, look for some resistance to come in and then break the resistance and then retest it. That's kind of what happened here. We were making some higher lows, had a flat top, kind of resistance, broke out. Great. Next day we opened up back down here and retested it. And then we were off to the races. Kind of. We retested again the next day. From that kind of flat top here. So if we can get some, so like this candle here looks similar here. So if we can get a little bit of sideways, get going, maybe a false breakdown, that'd be great. False breakdown, bears think that they have it, and then we just continue on up or continue sideways, and it's trapping even more people, and then we do start to move. So we'll see if we get some sort of rest tomorrow or not. If for some strange reason we go, I'm trying to get it on the screen. If for some reason we keep going lower, yellow line is the next place where we could do some bouncing. So that's like 3160. That's if we just continue to just lunge further. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next, but definitely a good day to, definitely a good day to go back and see what you could have done, see what rules you have in your plan that would have helped you get in at the right price. If you missed something because the option price you were going for didn't fill, what you can do to move to another strike. Those are things that, these are the kind of, like I said, momentum days where you don't get much reversing other than a retracement into the 21. That's something I like seeing about the 21. That was the other thing. So if you look at where the 21 is each day, so from here to here, where's the 21? It's up and down, and we're crossing through it a bunch. Okay, where's the 21 on this day? Oops, it's up and down, and we're crossing through it. Great. Okay. Oops, keep doing that. Where's the 21 this day? Oh, it's down and up, and we're crossing through it. Okay. Where's the 21 this day? Oh, we just kind of stayed below it, and we came back to it. If it starts out that day like that, and it's different than the other days, that's kind of a signal to me like something's happening. And we did something similar. We were into the 21, and then we stayed below it the rest of this day, mostly. I mean, it may not work that way for the whole day. Let's see. This day, we were holding the 21 as resistance until we got kind of here. And then that was the point that, oh, we started to reverse this day. And we had, kind of this lower wick. This was the lower wick. It went sideways. It had to take some time to reverse. Got the above the 21 and started to rally. And so this is more of like kind of like this is when I was talking about, was it cup and handle or something, maybe? I think something like that. But you can see kind of like there's this J sort of shape happening, like it's starting to curve back up. And it's a backwards J, I know. Here's a good day where we're in the 21, just sideways, and kind of not making up our mind until, oh, hey, we're going to break above. And then, of course, we'll come back down to it and retest it and make it look like we're back into it. Nope, it's just going to go. And it just ran up until later in that same day. Oh, we're going to come back to the 21 and be in it again. So then this was that bigger selling day where we started selling off here. We just stayed below the 21. And then the next day we opened up and stayed below the 21 all the way till we came back up into the 21 right there. So this day had similar retracement where we opened up the next day like this, ran into the 21 and just dropped lower. That was probably one of the easiest setups. Obviously hindsight, but one of the easiest setups to see. It's like, oh, we're just selling off the 21. So if we can do something where we're going to hold the 21, if we even gap up to 3260, 3270 is right here, 3260. If we open up here, we run up, give it, the 5-minute candle, if you give it a few more candles, let's see if we can get back below the 21 and just continue that kind of selling. Then look out below from this level, and this could really act again as a really good resistance here. And this is a little more bearish too, because we didn't even push above this price. We're not that far away from here. We're about 3/4 of the way up and didn't continue bullish. So this is a little more bearish that we didn't continue up higher. And then we're sitting right here where if we open up, I would guess we would open up around the yellow line. That's my guess. And from here, see, do we stay inside the triangle and do we sell down further? Or can we get above the 21 and we'll probably chop around into the 21 and do something like, maybe do something like this. If we can get into the 21 and kind of hold that low and chop around a bit, if we can stay above the 21 then, or stay straddling it, going up and down a bit, then later in the day, look to see if we can get some sort of rally. But I would watch the 21 to see what's going to happen. That's what I think. Yeah, go back and take a look at all the different strikes. The 3250 call, man, that thing, it just sunk all day. It's just crazy how much value the 3250 call lost. And then conversely, the 3250 put, like, it was worth $11 here and went up to over 100 or about 150. And then I mean, look at this. What if you had bought for like 15 in here? And at the end of the day, you had 500. You're exiting 500, or right at close, you're exiting for like probably 2 or 250 or something, which I don't recommend holding right into the close like that unless you've been practicing it and you know exactly what's going to happen with your broker and your connection's good. But anyway, yeah. So go back, look at these strikes, look at how they move. These are ones that, they're smaller. They're smaller candles. Like they have few contracts. There's if there was a 1 5-minute that had one strike traded, I would probably still do something like this if I was confident that we were going to have a bigger move into it, and I would only do that kind of absolute zero. So when I talk about these, strikes where you have these single wick candles, I'm usually talking about like having an entry and a stop. But when it's like this, and you can just buy something for absolute zero, it is more of a gamble. But if it's got the momentum, it can really start to move just because the option has to get premium built back into it as it's moving closer to at the money. That's just the way the math works. And so if you're seeing that happen midday where it was already dropping, so like for hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, it's trying to go to zero. And then all of a sudden you have like a rally hour, like where it's like, oh, there's value coming back into this. What's going on here? And then it's going to drop again because it always has to retest, or it doesn't always have to, but typically it retests. And you get back down low to some of these lower values, like, if the momentum's still there on the stock, get into that option and get into more than one, but do it as absolute zero. And then look to scale out of them. When it starts to move, get out of a couple. If it pulls back down, get back into a couple, and adjust your cost average, manage your cost average, and by the end of the day or later in the afternoon, just plan on getting out of them. Absolute zero is the easier way to do that because then you're not concerned about getting accidentally stopped out, and you're going into it knowing I'm going to lose a full R on this, and see what you can do to manage the trade so that you can get out for an R with one contract, and then the rest of the contracts you have on are free money. That's house money. If they do anything that makes you money, you're good, and if they go to zero, you are at break even of zero. Um, so you made no R's, but you lost no R's. So that's the other kind of fun way to figure out how to play these. So, and you can do that here too. And this one went even further up. I mean, you could have bought this for like $50 and made 2,700 by the end of the day. And the 3,300 was just crazy. So this is when I was kind of really kicking myself. It's like, oh, 2x1, I could have had that set up here, 2x1, and been at over $5,000 by the end of the day. How cool would that be? So I'll catch one of these someday, and I probably still won't buy the low and sell the high. So somewhere in there, I'd be good with. Hopefully more than like 8R. But anyway, so I know I'm going kind of on and on about this, and I think I just let my brain kind of mull this over during the weekend. So I know it's late, I know it's Sunday night, and hope you have a chance to go and watch this or go back and watch this after the fact. But these 5 days, there's something going on here. There's a lot of bullishness that came in. There's some bearishness that came in, and we're at another decision point low in here. And I think we're gonna see how it's gonna move tomorrow, or the next 2 days. Let's say if it's similar to this, the next 2-3 days will really tell us which direction we're going next. And yeah, that's what I got. Hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.